Bank failures, high interest rates, inflation, a war in Ukraine, civil unrest. There is a lot going on in the world today, and we're going to talk about how that is affecting real estate, specifically in Florida. This month's market report has a lot going on, and I can't wait to tell you at the end some changes that I think are going to have a pretty significant effect for us in the long term. So make sure that you stay tuned to the very end of the video. Now, jumping right into the market update, I always go over our year-over-year stats, and this is specifically here in Southwest Florida with Lee and Collier counties, which is basically Fort Myers and Naples, Florida. They have these two areas, specifically Southwest Florida, have seen an amazing amount of growth since COVID has happened, and that continues to be the case. So let's jump right in. We've got the latest stats, and these are February over February of 2022, and we're going to start off with our closed sales. So we see our closed sales in Collier County for single families were 390 homes. That's actually down by 15% year over year, which 2022 is down over 2021. So we're still trending going down in the number of transactions. And in Lee County, that number was 1,024. That is down 17%. So 15 to 17% down in the number of transactions that took place. Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting, and that is on the median price of a home, of closed home. That's $775,000 in Collier County. Now that is up 11% year over year. Lee County is $447,500, and that is up 9% year over year. Last month, we've actually gone up between the January stats and the February stats in both counties. The median price has gone up, and for that to be 9% higher than it was last year really goes against all of the other signs that we're seeing in the market, where we have less transactions, we have higher interest rates, we've got more inventory available, yet the prices are going up. That's just very interesting. Now, if you recall, if you've watched my previous month's videos, May of last year was the height of pricing that we saw in our market here in Southwest Florida, and the median price at that time in Collier County was $875,000 for a single family home, and in Lee County that was $470,000. So you can see we're getting fairly close to where those highs were. We're pushing back. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next couple months to see if we get to those highs and then break through, or if interest rates are going to continue to squash that possibility. Now, as we move on, the days on the market is another big story that we have been talking about. In Collier County, that's at 55 days is the average days on market before you can expect a contract. That's 224% higher than it was this time last year. And in Lee County, that's at 31 days, so right at 1 month, and that is 94% more, about double the amount of time that it took to get a contract last year. So again, taking longer to get contracts. We're seeing that the supply, the amount of properties available is increasing, yet prices are going up. Very interesting. Now, the new listings, we have 627 new listings in Collier County. That's down 8%, and then 1,657 in Lee County, and that's actually up 3%. So those are staying pretty steady, not any big news to discuss there. Pending inventory, this is a big number. So we have 893 that are currently pending in Collier County. That's down 25% over last year. And then in Lee County, that's 2,177 currently pending, and that's down 26%. So if we have down 25 and 26% of the number of pendings, that means that we can expect to see that our future closings are going to be down year over year as well. So we're going to see that trend continue for the next few months at least. Month supply, 4.6 months worth of supply in Collier County right now. So we're pushing, that is pushed into buyer's market territory, which that hasn't happened in a very long time. That's up 283%. And then 3.3 months worth of inventory. That's up 230% in Lee County. And so that is still, seller's market, but both of them are pretty close to equilibrium where it's not super favoring the sellers, not super favoring the buyers. And so that's what we're dealing with there. And then the dollar volume, this is how much the total transactions aggregate. In Collier County, that's at $574 million for the month. That's down 3%, and $587 million in Lee County, and that's down 17% year over year. So lots going on here. And again, the only thing that is bucking what basic economics would be, bucking that trend, would be that pricing is actually going up. When you would think with the increased supply, longer days on market, higher interest rates, that should be coming down. Now, we are in our high season, okay, so there are more snowbirds in town. This is where we typically sell more at this time of year than we do in the summer months or fall, etc. And so we do expect that there is a push that happens around this time of year. Will that continue after we get through April, May, June? That is a question that we are excited to figure out the answer to. Now, in the beginning of the video, I mentioned some other big news that was happening in the real estate world. And what happened here is that Fannie Mae came out with guidelines that all banks now have to put certain charges, upfront points on loans if they're not essentially the perfect loan. And what's happening here is that if you don't have a perfect 780 or better credit score, and you're not putting at least 30% down, they're going to charge some fraction of points up front for you to get a new loan. Now, this is a little bit different than charging a higher interest rate. We've seen interest rates go up, and the goal there is to slow down sales, but these are points that are being charged up front to get the loan. So if you've got bad credit and you can only put down a small amount, they're going to charge a significant amount of upfront points to make it harder for you to get a loan, higher closing costs, just not a great situation for you as the buyer. Now, that's one component of it when we talk about down payment and the credit scores. The second component, there are going to be upfront points charged for other parameters, which this has always been the case, but there's one important change that specifically affects us here in Southwest Florida. And so let's take an example of an investment property. There's always been upfront points or higher interest rate charge if it's an investment property versus a primary residence, because let's face it, that's a higher risk for the bank that somebody would default on something if they're not living in that property. Now what is happening is that you're actually going to be charged points for a second home purchase for conventional financing through Fannie Mae. So what they've done is they've basically taken the risk assessment for an investment property, and they've made that the same as a second home. And so they're charging a fairly significant amount of points up front for second home purchases if you get conventional financing. Now, this is a big deal for us here in Southwest Florida when we have a significant portion of our population is second home buyers. What I believe that this will do is this will push people, because people are still going to want to move to Florida, no question about that. But this may push people to make Florida be their primary residence. If it's your primary residence, you don't get charged those additional fees. And so Florida, we know and have known for a very long time, is a great place to come from a tax perspective. There's no income tax in the state of Florida. A lot of people choose to homestead here for the protections that they have of their assets, etc. And so this just may push people to have Florida be their primary residence as opposed to just a second home. If not, they're going to expect that they would get, be charged those additional fees up front that Fannie Mae has now come out and pushed. So that's a very important deal. I wanted to make sure that you're aware of that because, people talk and you see in the news about interest rates, but you don't see any of the intricacies that are happening behind the scenes. And I always want to make sure that you understand what's going on in the real estate market. If you have any specific questions, feel free to comment below. And also, please make sure to like the video and press subscribe. That really helps the YouTube algorithm. Help me make more videos like this for you. Hope you have an amazing day. We'll talk soon.